Hey everyone, and welcome to Mommy Mondays. My name is Azucena Gonzalez. Thank you for those who are joining us back today. A little late, but I'm going to be talking about our birth story today. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. I just basically talk about my journey from pregnancy to post pregnancy. And we are now 4 months postpartum with our first baby, first and only baby. Baby Kaibek is a sweet little boy who apparently cries a lot. Those are my sister's words. Anyways, love her to death. But I was like, why are you telling me this? Anyways, so I'm going to talk about a birth story because I know before I gave birth, I really was doing everything to have a natural birth. And what I mean by a natural birth, because so many people refer to natural birth in so many different ways. And essentially, I was trying to give birth without any kind of medication. So that I could feel the pain, all the sensations that occurred during labor and delivery. And so we basically got there to an extent. So this is what happened. I gave birth at 42 weeks and 1 day. And that last week before giving birth, we went in Monday, because on Friday was when I turned the 42 weeks. On Monday we went in because they were going to see how everything was going on with baby. I was going in to get an internal pelvic massage. I got some acupuncture done. Other things I had done before that was getting some an adjustment and a prenatal massage as well, because I was trying to just really prepare my body for this. I was working out throughout my pregnancy, but I stopped working out the last month, what ended up being a month, because I really wanted to make sure that I rested up for this huge event. So then Monday I go in, we're just waiting. Then they're like, okay, well, let's tentatively schedule an appointment for Thursday in the case you don't go into labor by then. So I'm like, okay. And I remember at night feeling like, oh, I'm feeling a little crampy. Like, this is exciting. Oh my goodness, is tonight the night? And no. So Thursday we go to our hypothetical, our tentatively scheduled appointment, and we stayed there the whole day because we were trying to do everything naturally that we could do to induce labor. So I'm rubbing my nipples with olive oil, like we're walking, I'm eating food, I'm trying to stay in a restful, calm state. I'm neglecting my phone because I'm supposed to get in Zen, right? And they're like, our goal is to get to 3 centimeters that day for me to be able to have my baby there at Blossom. But if I did not, then I would need to go into the hospital just because of the way things are by law and whatnot. So after the whole day of doing that, it did not happen that way. And I was super upset because I remember I had also gotten another internal pelvic massage. I got another IV, and I got some more acupuncture on my legs. And it did not get us to where we needed to be. So I remember when they were doing that, once they were checking me to see how much I had dilated, and they're like, dude, you're still basically at 1. And I remember feeling so disappointed and defeated and upset. So I was like, all right, we got to do what we got to do, right? Like, I mean, what can I do? So then we got to the hospital. They checked me in. The birth assistant was still with me, so that was really nice. I didn't have to do that alone because I was kind of like, I don't know what to do. First time going to the hospital, and I don't know how long, too. So I'm just like, ugh. They checked me in and everything. They once my nurse settles me in and whatnot, they checked me on 3 centimeters. And then that really made me upset because I was like, man, I was almost there. So then essentially there's a couple things that need to happen. Your cervix needs to thin out, and then you also need to open. You dilate. So you efface and you dilate. Well, I had just dilated at 3 centimeters, but I was not very effaced. So they were going to give me Cervidil to thin out my cervix. Well, that night I was having contraction after contraction. I remember waking up and being like, ooh, like these contractions. I was like, I'm feeling these. And I would just kind of reposition myself in a way that I could go back to sleep. So I ended up not getting Cervidil because I was having those continuous contractions that Thursday night. However, come Friday morning, they kind of went away. And I was doing what I could. I was walking and everything. We started talking about Pitocin. I'm like, I don't want any kind of medical interventions, because typically what happens once you start introducing a medical intervention, you inevitably end up needing more, which was the case. So, but it was needed at the same time because I was already at 42 weeks by that Friday. we needed baby to come out, because then there's other complications that can start to occur. So I'm walking as much as I can, but it's hard because they have this monitor around me so they can check the heartbeat of the baby and all these kind of safety measures. So I had to stop walking around because it was falling off. The charge died on it and all these things. So then I'm bound to my bed, which I was not very happy about, because I'm like, all right, like I'm trying to stay as mobile as I can. So because we started the Pitocin, which there was a little bit of resistance because I felt really rushed, because they're like, let's try to have the baby today before 3. And I'm like, oh, it's like 11 o'clock. And I'm like, dude, like, I don't want to have this. I don't want to pop out this baby just because you have an aspiring nurse here with you, because somebody was shadowing that day. Just because you have an aspiring nurse here, and you want her to have that experience, like, do not try to sabotage my delivery. That's how I felt, right? I was like, kind of like, oh, like, felt rushed. And I remember crying a bit when the nurse came. She's like, I mean, when the doctor came, she's like, oh, let's do, let's start the Pitocin. And I'm kind of like, can we hold off? I don't want it anymore. You kind of talk it through. We talked it through, and it was kind of like, dude, like, we're prolonging the inevitable. And like, again, we needed to get things going, because now I was at 4 or 5 centimeters, and again, we weren't having these big contractions that we needed to be having. And I didn't want Pitocin because it makes your contractions worse. So I was like, no. Anyways, so then we get the Pitocin going. I'm like, all right, I'm moving as much as I can. I'm like sitting on a yoga ball, whatever. Like, I'm just hanging out. I have videos where I'm just like at 6 centimeters, and I'm like, all right, baby boo, where are you? I remember the birthing assistant from Blossom. She's like, I don't even know what to do with you, because usually people in this predisposition would not be feeling how you're feeling. And I was feeling great. I'm like, la la la, 6 centimeters, I'm fine. Like, I could feel like I felt very light cramping, and I remember feeling like, they're like, do you feel that? And I'm like, yeah, but it's not, I'm not feeling it the way I'm supposed to be feeling it, right? And I have no pain medication at this time. And I hadn't eaten either, because once they started administering the Pitocin around 12, they stopped giving you food in case anything happens, right? So I was on a liquid-only diet, so I'm eating Jell-O and ice chips and just drinking water, right? Which I'm not very happy about, because I love to eat. So then we're just hanging out, and yeah, the Pitocin, we're just hanging out, la 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 la, and yeah. So then it comes around nighttime. And then they're like, you know what? There was already talks about we may have to rupture your water, and I'm kind of like, holy moly, because again, depending on the intervention, you start being placed on a timeline, because there's certain risks that start to be introduced and whatnot. So then, yeah, there around the afternoon, they had given me the max amount of Pitocin they could give me, and I'm just still hanging out, right? Like, all right. So then later that night, I prolonged getting my waters ruptured as much as I could. So then they're like, you know what, we gotta do it, or else, all these things, right? And I'm like, all right, talk to me about the risks and, like, the pros and cons about getting my waters ruptured. And I knew one of the things was, once you get your waters ruptured, you're on a 24-hour timeline where you have to deliver your baby within that time, because as you approach the 24-hour time limit, you also risk baby getting an infection, because of people introducing instruments and fingers to gauge where you're at, right? So then, yeah, and I was like, no, like, it was worrisome for me, because I'm like, I don't want to get an infection on the baby or me, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, like, we got to do what we got to do, because I wasn't just progressing enough. So then, because again, I'm 42 weeks. So then I remember being like, all right, the doctor had mentioned C-section, and that really scared me, because I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, all right, first of all, I didn't want to even be here, Secondly, like, how do we get to having a vaginal delivery to a C-section? Like, everything is fine. Like, we're all good. And that really put me, like, on edge a bit. So anyways, they rupture my water. It's the oddest sensation, because they almost look like what looks like a drain, like a really plastic, cheap $2 drain unclogging thing that you buy like at Home Depot or Lowe's, and they stick it in, they kind of like pull out to rupture the water, and it just feels like all this warmth come out, like you peed yourself almost. It's really like intimate, because you're just kind of like, people are there, and you're just like, I feel like I just went to the bathroom or relieved myself, and everybody's here, but it was not even like that. Anyways, It's wild because I remember being like, okay. But after that happened, they actually had to do it again a couple hours later because apparently there was still a little sack. Baby Boo did not drop until the next day. Like this little dude never dropped. So I never had that sensation where like, oh, I feel him right there at the bottom of the vagina. I never had that sensation. So I remember when they had to rupture the my waters again because there was a little pocket of some sort. By that time, I was already feeling the sensations, right? Stronger, much stronger. Because once they ruptured it, the first time I was like, all right, mom, you gotta go. Because the room was crowded. I was like, it's gonna be a long night. You're falling asleep. You're getting on my nerves already. Not that she was doing anything, but I was just getting bothered, right? And I'm like, I don't need you here. In the nicest way possible. She leaves, and I'm starting to have these feelings. So then when they ruptured my waters, it was just kind of like, ooh, like I'm having contractions, and like you're introducing your big hands into my vagina and doing what you got to do, and it's not pleasant. So then that night, there was parts of that night where it was like, Lord Jesus, like what did I get myself into? I remember just being like, ooh, ooh, like making these really guttural noises, swaying, doing figure eights, going from the toilet to the bed and back and forth, trying to take off what I could because everything was bothering me. You know, you get to this point where you're just like, ugh. So I remember it was around 3 o'clock at one point, and I was like, I can do this. I just one contraction at a time, take a deep breath, try to relax. And I'm doing this, right? I'm trying to do what I can from what you learn in class and whatnot. And I remember that I was like, okay, that seemed like a long time. What time is it? Dude, 15 minutes had passed, and I was like, Lord Jesus, how am I supposed to go through this the whole night? I was like, because I remember thinking like, you know, even if I don't want to go through this, I have to go through it. There's no way that I cannot go through this because it's too late. Like, baby's here. Like, baby needs to get out. And I don't want to do a C-section. So we just kind of have to go through this. But you're just kind of like stuck in a hard place and in a rock. You're just kind of like, como la que se cagó, ya que, you know? You're just like, okay. So, yeah, I was talking to a birth assistant. And, I mean, her and Victor were kind of taking turns napping, which was really, to me, it was a little frustrating because I couldn't take a break because I was having my contractions, you know. And I mean, I had the best nurses the whole time that I was there.